All right, guys. Welcome to another weekly live webinar. So it's going to be Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. And just so you know, this is not pre-recorded, guys. You see it's nighttime, and you're going to see I got the live music right here too, guys, right? So if this is going to be your first time attending this live training, they're pretty cool. So I like to break down, industry overview, basics, step by step. So at the end of this training, you'll know exactly what you need to do to get this up and running, right? So if you're watching this live, I'm seeing everybody hop in right now. What I want you to do is comment live below, right? Comment live. And if you're watching the replay and on Instagram, just so you guys know, there's not gonna be a replay, so you need to send me a message to get access. Comment replay below, guys, all right? So I'm gonna see a few different comments over here as you're popping this in. I know there's a little delay, so as these pop up, we'll sign them in here too, all right, guys? So with that being said, I'm based out of Colombia, Medellin, as you guys know, right? So I moved a lot of the stuff over here, just finalizing the paperwork for the office over here too. So if you're looking for maybe a position to work, in Colombia, that's an option too, maybe an excuse, but you got to bring your spouse too. I don't need any of that drama, right? So what I want you to do is comment the city and state you're actually watching this from, right? So I'm in Medellin, Colombia right now, typically based out of Miami, Florida, Bay Area, California too. I was a cop in Oakland, but I want you to just comment the city and state you're actually watching this from, right? So I can actually see, and I'm seeing a lot of you guys' comments on the actual webinar directly. So Tyson, I see you, Robert, Darius, Shannon, Steven, Brian, the trader himself, Sharon, or maybe Sharon, Tyson, Martin, what's going on, guys, right? And if you're on Instagram, again, so I have my actual assistant on my messenger on Instagram. So make sure you send me a message like right now, because the stream will cut off and I have to just continue on the actual virtual webinar too, right? So for today, I'm seeing people in Edmonton, Canada. What's going on, brother? Florence, Arizona, Lake Tahoe. That's badass. Are you on the California side? Yeah. So New York City, I see Hartford, Kentucky. Awesome, cool. I'm seeing some pretty cool locations for you guys also. And on the Instagram side, I'm seeing I can't see the comments, there's a delay, so I'll just have to stick to the actual webinar. All right. Oh, Chicago, Illinois, young lad. What's going on, brother? So let me ask you guys a question, right? I got a question for you, right? Because ultimately, you're on multiple platforms. We're in our Facebook group. We're actually live on this webinar, and then also on Instagram live too. So I got a question for you, right? Who here actually has a business up and running? What I want you to do is comment business below, comment business, okay? And if it's none of my business, you can comment business too, okay? But I just want to get an idea of like who here has a business up and running. And the reason I asked this ultimately is because, it's been a long journey for me in business in general. And, they say the thing about business is you're kind of learning yourself. It's this weird thing, okay? It's this foo-foo, woo-woo stuff. But essentially, what ends up happening is you become better and better, or you make more money in business because you start developing yourself, right? The path from 0 to 100,000 to a million, they're two different versions of yourself. And we're going to break down a little bit of this also, guys. Okay. So I'm seeing a few people comment here. Awesome, guys. So basically for today's training, we're going to go over some pretty simple concepts. So basically what I've been finding is the most common questions when it comes down to a crypto payment business has actually been, number one, Gedam, how do I start? Like, what's the step-by-step? Number two is like, hey, how do I make some money? And then number three, it's like, well, how much money can I make? Right? And if that's one of your questions, I actually have a startup guide, a pretty simple startup guide that covers the basics, like from a top level perspective. So I want you to comment PDF below. Comment PDF if you do need a copy of that. I'll either email it to you. My assistant on Instagram will send it to me also. So if you just comment PDF and we'll send that to you right after, because I'm constantly updating it. It's pretty cool. It's live. It's published online. So if you refresh on a Friday, what you're going to see is like the stuff you saw on Monday is not even there anymore. It's like on the bottom is brand new information. There's statistics, there's data, like everything you need to know to be successful on your own. And if you decide, hey, Gedam, I want to work with you, awesome. If not, no worries. Just give me a shout out when you are successful, right? So with that being said, guys, just to give you guys a little bit of background before I get into the lesson. So one of the most common things I get asked, right, especially if you're kind of new to me, maybe you saw like an advertisement, maybe you just were scrolling through Instagram and you saw something I posted that was funny. It's all good. But one of the most common questions, like, I'm like, why are you qualified to even talk about this? Like, in the age of all these gurus and all these people, like, why are you even qualified? And I was like, old me with the ego in the Marines are like, hey, you can't talk to me that way, right? But new versions like, you know what, you're right. I feel like a grandpa sometimes, all right? So essentially, just give you guys a little bit of background, right? So, I subscribe to the traditional thought The traditional thought was what? It said, hey, you know what? You're going to work a 9 to 5, or you maybe have some investments. You're going to have some savings, maybe like a 401k or like a 457b, whatever it is. And then from there, you're going to quote unquote, like retire and be happy. So, that just never resonated with me, right? It just never resonated with me. And I'm sure you watching this right now, it's the same thing where you're kind of just on the edge. Maybe you have an investment firm. Maybe you are a manager somewhere like middle management, or maybe you're seeing some of the things that are popping off around the world. And you're like, man, I just want to make sure my family's taken care of, right? So what really sealed the deal was this website right here, guys. I'm going to give you a screen share so you can check this out. And if you're on Instagram, you're going to have to zoom in because I can't go vertical on this, right? So this website right here, I'm not associated whatsoever, but this really changed my mindset on a lot of different things. It's called layoffs.fyi. So give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen. So when I go to this website right here, I'm going to try to zoom in, right? So let's do this. There we go. All right. So I'm going to zoom in for you guys. So basically, this website itself is actually pretty simple. If you scroll up, I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see. It's an automatic layoff tracker. I highly recommend you bookmark this. This is free. It's a public website. Most people don't know about it. It's called layoffs.fyi. It's super cool. And maybe the person that made this is watching. He's like, whoa, I got a shout out. But it's been tracking layoffs year after year after year after year. Okay. And so the crazy thing you're going to see over here, right? It tells you there's been a total of 91,000 tech employees laid off in 2025, right? We go to 2024, 150,000, and we're closing to the end of the year here. So we might actually double this. And then you start looking at like how many people got laid off from government employment. And the crazy part is you start looking at the companies. So the first things you want to look at is the company name and how many were laid off, okay? And what industry they're in. So you have, you're going to see these companies yourself, but there's all these different ones: ZipRecruiter, Fiverr, Zupi, Microsoft, Salesforce, Oracle. And one of the common things you're going to see here, right? I want you to comment me below. Comment me if you recognize one of these companies, maybe you worked for it, or maybe you actually know somebody that works there, okay? Here's the reason why I bring this up, okay? Essentially, I was brought up on the belief, I grew up in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley. I said, hey, if I get a good degree, whatever a good degree means, and I get $100,000 in debt for college, and I work a 9 to 5, and then I get hired at one of these companies, I do an internship, then I'm going to be okay. But you kind of start seeing the writing on the wall. And it might have been social media, because back then it was MySpace, right? But it might have been the advent of social media, Twitter, now X or whatever. But you kind of start realizing it's BS, right? And this time I'm going to do a PG-13 version. I got fined by the FCC at this point, right? So you kind of realize it's bullshit, because when you look at this, you're like, whoa, these are like some legit companies. And it could be for whatever reason. But essentially, these massive companies are deciding, hey, you know what? Sorry, you're not worth it. Like you, 9,000 people, you're just not worth it. And it's kind of a crappy feeling when you really think about it. So ultimately, the reason I got into this position was I was in a position of scarcity. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. And I thought to myself, like, okay, I don't have transferable skills. I'm not like the best at anything. So I'm like, what makes me so special to maintain a career versus anything else? So naturally, my career progression came from that background. Okay. So essentially graduated, joined the Marines because I barely graduated school. I was around the wrong people. Okay. Got in the Marine Corps. And if you're a veteran in here, shout out to your service also. But joined the United States Marines, thought to myself, you know what? Everything will be okay. Right. And it was one of the best experiences ever. I'm not gonna lie, it was one of the best experiences ever. But closer to the end, I was like, I don't really see my future here anyway. Like, do I really want to spend 20 years here? And, it might have just been the unit I was in or whatever. Some of you guys are in the military, you get it. If you spend, a certain amount of years, you might as well just stay for the retirement. But it just didn't resonate with me. And it became a pattern. It became this consistent pattern that was happening. Okay. And so you fast forward, get out the Marines. I'm working dead end jobs, right? Some of the stories you know of, right? And I was just like, this can't be my life, right? As that Jay-Z would say back in the day, this can't be my life. And so ultimately, I thought to myself, I was like, I got to get out of this rat race. I have to. So, you think to yourself, oh, then it's happy, happily ever after, have sunflowers and nice house. That didn't happen, right? So I started getting into some really bad financial situation. I'm not gonna lie. It was stupid decisions, but usually you don't realize what the original decision was. And then you fast forward and then you're like, wait a second, how am I really in this predicament? Well, I was over like $70,000 in credit card debt. I was trying to pay the minimum balances. I was making dead end, like job employment. I was working security, making like $8 an hour back then, which was a lot of money. And I was just like, this is not going to work. There's no way. So had to make the decision where I was like, hey, I just got to sleep in my car. It is what it is. So I had a 1999 Nissan Altima, four-door, gold, leather seats. I was like, let's rock, right? We're going back Marine Corps mode. So that was definitely one of the most, I guess, the lowest points in my life. I'm not gonna lie. And the reason why is because it's embarrassing. You're thinking to yourself, man, I just graduated the Marines. I'm doing this. I have like, a really good opportunity in the US and I'm sleeping in my car. Are you kidding me right now? And that's when it hit me. I was like, I used to blame a lot of other people. And some of you guys may be in that position where you're like, it's that person, it's this person. And I realized like the moment you point your finger at somebody, you have 3 fingers pointed right back at you. So it turned into what I call the accountability phase, right? And I say there's the season of learning and then there's the season of earning. Essentially, this was the season of learning. I had to figure it out. I was like, I don't got any money. I'm trying to determine, do I pay for this bill or do I pay for that bill? I'm trying to get the cheapest cell phone plan that's prepaid. I think it was Singular back then before they, merged. So, I'm dating myself back here. So I end up running into a police officer, a deputy sheriff, Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office in the Bay Area, if you guys know. And back then, I never spoke to police officers, right? The only time you spoke to police officers when I was drunk at Camp Pendleton at Ocean Slime, as we call it, right? Just getting drunk, underage, and all that good stuff. So I just have this one conversation with this deputy. And I say this because you're really one person away from that life-changing event. There's chapters. There's a book called Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. If you haven't listened to it on an audiobook, I highly recommend it. Matthew McConaughey, famous actor, one of the best books, Green Lights. It's really good, okay? So this is what I call that green light. So essentially, have this conversation. I don't even know how it happened. The spotlight was on him or something at the store. And I said, hey, man, it was another brother. I was like, hey, man, like, how's the career? What's this? I just started asking questions, just normal, like, civilian to cop questions that I would get years later. And he's like, yeah, we do this. I'm seeing these dudes yokes, man. He looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm like, man, this dude's got it good. And I was like, well, how much do you make if I don't mind you asking? And he's like, oh, I'm making like, $150,000 a year. And, at the time I thought that was really good. And it still is a really good salary, but let's be realistic, guys. With the expenses increasing, especially in the Bay Area, that's just not realistic. So I thought to myself, I was like, man, here I am making like, I think it was like $9.75 an hour, right? Working overtime to make like $13 an hour. And here I am talking to this guy. I'm like, man, he's got it good. Life is good. So he tells me one thing. Because I'm on the fence. I'm one of those guys that kind of like, I don't know if I should do this. I should do this. I don't really know. I'm just like indecisive. And he says, just apply. I think to myself, well, I don't know. And he asked me this one question. And he says, what's the worst that's going to happen? And it's that extreme question that always helps you. So, I think to myself, I was like, well, this could happen, this could happen. And he said, well, who cares? Fuck it. And so that interaction literally changed the direction of my life. And, I said it was going to be PG-13, but it was just that one statement of, fuck it. Who cares? We'll figure it out. It was the same thing they taught us in the Marines. Like, dude, figure it out. Let's rock. Honor, courage, commitment. And it was the same thing that I find myself repeating over 10 years later, guys. Actually, 12 years later. So if you're at that position right now where you're like, I got things are good, or maybe they're not the best or whatever, and you're like, I just want that extra like bump. I want you to comment now, right now. Comment now. And the reason why I say this is because ultimately, if it's not now, it's going to be never. And it sounds so cliche, but I'm telling you, this is like the same thing you'll see a lot of influencers that are actually successful repeat. One of my best mentors and one of my closest friends that I've ever worked with, the same thing. He's like, bro, fuck it. Get him. Fuck it. I'm like, well, what about this? What about that? He's like, who cares? We'll figure it out. I'm like, okay. All right, man. And so it took a big transformation to actually get to that point. And so we fast forward again to law enforcement, barely graduated the academy, had an issue, get a second chance because again, it's that network equals your net worth statement, which I never believed in until now. And so, I have a long career. And so if you Google, you probably see my name, like some CNN episodes, things like that, like some funny stuff that happened in law enforcement, guys, right? But in the career, I was making a decent amount of money. I was making starting salary was about like 110K, promoted pretty young. So I ended up making about $250,000 a year, like $250K a year as a police sergeant in Oakland. And just so you know, because, people are like, well, I don't know if cops can make that much. Check the receipts. Check the receipts. It's public record. Literally, I can't lie about it. The city of Oakland will literally say, yeah, this guy made this much in this year. A lot of it was overtime, but made a decent amount of money. So at that point, I'm about like 29 years old. No, I'm about 28 years old. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, all right, this is good. The career is good. Like I'm getting paid well, et cetera. And just had a lot of incidents that were happening. And so I thought to myself, I was like, okay, if I don't see myself staying another 30 years here, why am I going to stay another 30 days? And it might sound extreme, but I thought to myself, fuck it. This is that guy told me, he said, hey, leave when it's good, which is when I left that other position. I said, okay, let's rock. So at this point, I started making a lot of investments, and you guys are probably in the same boat right now. You might be on the fence. Maybe you made some bad investments, just like I did. I invested into, and this is not to say they don't work, but I invested into e-com. It was an e-com course back then, a few $1,000s. Let's just say it didn't work out. All right. To this day, I lost like 3 strands of hair from that business. So that didn't work out. So I thought, okay, man, maybe this business thing is not for me. Ultimately, it came down to time. I just didn't have the time. I was in a patrol car. You know, somebody, like, I'd literally be driving down the street, latte in my hand. I look to the right, dude has a gun in his hand, shoots in the air. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not really thinking about the best items to be selling online at this point. I'm just trying to make sure I stay alive. So that business crumbled, guys. Okay. So decided, I was like, all right, I'm going to try this rental car business that they keep talking about online. Right. So I'm going to buy some, cars. I'm going to list them online. I'm going to do this and that. I made some bad decisions with that. I decided I was going to leverage, a loan to buy some new cars, which is the worst mistake ever. It's obviously depreciating. And then you fast forward, I had like some drug dealers renting my car and this and that. I was like, this ain't working, right? I'm trying to go into these federal task forces and I got drug dealers driving my cars. This is a problem. Okay. So then I thought to myself, okay, I know the answer. I know the answer. The answer is I'm going to open a retail storefront in San Francisco. So if you guys know San Francisco, this is pre-COVID. So this is pre-2020, right? So it's very active. A lot of people go there. We cross over the Bay Bridge, et cetera, right? And people still travel there. So I'm thinking, oh, San Francisco, it's going to work out. I'm going to get the spot. I'm going to sell, I was doing gold at the time. So if you buy gold, silver, et cetera, like those stores, which are very profitable, you should look into that. I'm going to do that. But I had one fatal flaw. What I decided to do was, number one, partner with a business partner, which, wasn't their fault, but they just, maybe weren't the best partner to work with right then and there. And the other thing was I had no business plan. I literally had no business plan. And you add in the fact that you're working every single day as a cop, like 12, 13 hours a day, you're not going to want to work at a store. So let's just say it crashed and burned. I lost over $50,000 in that business. And that was like another low point because this is literally blood money. I'm talking about like you might be doing CPR on somebody for your overtime and it just goes kapoof for your business. Worst decision, had to hit up the landlord, say, hey man, can't afford their rent. Can we break the lease? It's tripling that, making sure they don't sue us, just the craziest stuff, guys. So at this point, I'm just thinking to myself, maybe this business thing just isn't for me. Maybe this business thing isn't for me. And how many of you guys have been in that situation where maybe you tried an investment, maybe you tried to partner with somebody and it just didn't work out for whatever reason, whether it's your fault or their fault? I want you to comment partner below, comment partner. And the reason why is because sometimes you realize when you're partnering with somebody or partnering with the wrong business, it's sometimes out of your control because it may not be that the business doesn't work. It may just not be the right time for you. And it happens if you're in the military, if you're working an extreme, like extensive job, if you have a family, you got newborns, etc. Guess what? It is what it is. Life sucks. So we keep moving forward. So you fast forward, invested into crypto. This was back in 2015, found this thing called Bitcoin. I was like, the hell is this? Got invested into that like very early. Started investing into different methods to make money online with crypto specifically that, nowadays they may not be as legal, but it is what it is. And so that's when I started getting into boring businesses. You start talking about like ATMs, credit card processing, Bitcoin ATMs, like all these different methods to make additional money on the side of your main source of income. And the reason why I have this long drawn out explanation is this. When it comes down to it in business, the way you want to think about this, it's actually very simple. You say, number one, you start quiet quitting from your job, okay? And your job may not be a 9-to-5. It may be that you're a full-time mom. It may be that you're partnering with somebody. But essentially, you've made the determination that this thing is not something I want to commit to, so that 100% of like actual energy that you have, you just dedicate 10%. That's it. Just dedicate 10% to maybe trying this out. This is what I call the binary phase, right? I'm going to comment this below, the binary phase. And basically what this means is this is the point of your business career that you're saying, I just got to prove that it works. Okay. Once you prove that it works, that's when you actually determine, okay, you're like a dog chewing on a bone. You start tasting that and you're not pulling that bone away from the dog. Because then you're like, wait a second, I've got something that actually works. Now I'm going to enter into the quantity phase. Okay. And guys, this is just business advice in general. It doesn't need to be this. You're going to start realizing this applies to everything. So once you enter the quantity phase, essentially all you're doing is saying, okay, I found something that works. It's not the best, it's not the sexiest, but I think I can make it work more and more. It might be a trade, like a blue collar job. It might just be some investment, but essentially I'm just going to do more repetitions of what I know works. That's it. I'm literally just going to do more repetitions. And this is not anything sexy. It's not fancy. It's not any of the fancy business stuff they talk about a lot of the other influencers. But essentially, that's all you're going to do is you're going to focus on doing more repetitions of the same thing. So you're going to get to this glass ceiling, okay? This is what I call the optimize phase, okay? And when I say optimize, what ends up happening is you start doing a lot of these repetitions, more and more and more and more. You get bored, it's working out, you try different things. Then you realize, okay, this is not sustainable. I'll be okay with the funds I'm making. It may be $2,000 a month. It may be $5,000 a month. It might be whatever. But essentially, you're like, I really need to make a change. I need to find a way to make this into a real business. That's when you start building out processes. You start hiring people. You get software. This is in management consulting, what they say, you either have the people, the processes, or the technology, right? So you start building out that stuff. And that's when you start feeling like a business owner. You know why? Because you're not working in the business, you're actually working on it. And the analogy I'll give you is you have a food truck that you're pulling up to the bar late at night and you're selling some tacos, right? And then from there, you're like, okay, I'm getting really tired. I smell like oil every single day and some, pastor. And then you're like, okay, I need to hire some employees. Now I need to actually market myself. Now I need to put myself on Yelp. Now I need to do all these different things. That's the phase you want to get into, right? So I got a question for you because I'm about to break down this next business and exactly what you need to do to be successful. But I have one question for you watching right now. What's that amount? And what I mean by that is, what's that monthly amount that you're not going to get rich? You're like, I'm going to make a decision to kind of change the trajectory of my life. It might just be to, cover your expenses. It might be to buy the Lambo, right? And it costs about, I think $4,300 a month right now if you want a Lambo to rent it. But what's that monthly amount that you're looking to achieve right now? I want you to comment below in the comments, right? For me at the time, it was closer to 6,500 and I was single. I was living a decent life. Like I was living in a basement. I had all my car covered and all that good stuff. But essentially my thought process was if I can cover my expenses and have some playing room, like, about $2,000 extra a month, I'll be happy. I won't be rich and I won't be like, the safest, but I do know I'm gonna have all my expenses covered. So I want to see your actual comments below, guys, right? So Cedric, I see you say 7,500. Michael, see 8,200. On IG, let me see if I see this also. Cool, you guys can comment too. I'm actually looking on the IG also. Devin, 10K a month. Stella, what's going on? I see $7,000. We're gonna say pounds, 7,000 pounds. Michael Rodriguez, 8,200. Cedric, I see that also. Shannon, what's up? Mr. The trader himself, 5,500. Robert, awesome. Okay, cool. So I'm seeing these amounts. Some very reasonable to hit pretty quickly, as much as it might seem out of reach. Some you're going to scale into, just to be absolutely realistic. This is not a get rich quick scheme, right? So the reason I say this is because step number one for starting this business, again, this is for crypto payment processing. If you don't want to do this, it's the same thing in any other business, right? You're going to get a free mastermind. Step number one is actually going to be very simple. It's identifying that target, okay? This is the same thing we did in the military. Like, hey, we make a target, SMEAC, situation, mission, execution, admin, logistics, command and control, right? The same process we follow in the military is the same thing you do in business. So you make that target. You say, what are the numbers? Because there's a saying in business, if you track it, you can improve upon it. If you don't, you're not going to hit it. So now we know our number. We've had that in our point right now, okay? So with that being said, now we start reverse engineering it, okay? There's two sides to this. Side number one is going to be like, number one, does this business make sense? Am I even gonna hit these numbers? I know for this business, it makes sense, but you have to come to that conclusion with independent information. That's Google. And then side number two is like, all right, what's the realistic timeline it's gonna take? So if you're saying you wanna hit, say, Frandy, you wanna hit 6K a month, which is totally reasonable, then you gotta say, okay, how many businesses do I need to lock down? How many employees do I need? And it's gonna be 0, but how much time is gonna take me to actually get there? And then what you do is you just compare it to other opportunities out there. So let's start going through some of these opportunities. There's a few out there, right? You might be looking at e-commerce. You might be looking at vending machines, traditional credit card processing. You might start a notary business. There's all these different opportunities out there. They're all equally great in their own way, and they have their downsides. But then you have to compare it to how much time you have available to you. And this, by far, was the key indicator of my success. Because for all the things that I failed on, guys, the common factor was time. And if that's the factor for you, which I know for me, when I was working, I just didn't have the time. I want you to comment time below, comment time. Because the reason I bring this up is ultimately, Let's be realistic. It comes down to, do you have the time to do those things? Can you move a 3,000-pound machine to a business? Do you have the time to do market research? Do you have the time to literally unlock the store and turn off the alarm? Do you have the time to manage employees? And the saying in business and in law enforcement is what I learned when I promoted to being a sergeant in front of other cops, right? And no offense, I know some of the cops are watching, right? You're not managing people, you're managing personalities, okay? So you're not managing people, you're managing personalities. So it's one of the funniest things, okay? And if that's not the case, what you want to do is double down on a business that's simple first. It's not going to be the end all be all, guys. Remember all those businesses I started with? They aren't with me today. So it's not going to be the end all be all, but it'll get you to that first initial goal. And once you learn the language, because ultimately this is just the language. Once you learn the language of business, you want to know something crazy? You start realizing, oh, you can start applying this everywhere. And business is literally a language, just like anything else. If you habla español, if you speak French, oui, or you speak, any other language, you start realizing, okay, once I learn one language, I can learn the next thing. Once you learn the language of business, you start talking to other business owners like myself, and we just start speaking the same thing. It's just natural. You might have an ice cream shop. You might make custom cars. It doesn't matter, but we all speak the same language, okay? So when it comes down to crypto payment processing, what I want to do is break down the fundamentals, step by step, what you need to do to hit that number. And then from there, how you can actually take action, right? So if you're excited, you're like, Gedam, let's get to it, man. You're passionate, you're motivating, but like, just tell us what it is. I want you to comment live right now. Comment live, right? And I got my Zen, guys. I just found out about this crap, man. It's addicting. But essentially, you got to stimulate yourself to make sure you get to that next level. It is what it is. It might be, Starbucks like cold brew. It might just be water. It might be, caffeine. But like, you got to find that thing to stimulate you. Okay. So with that being said, guys, let's start talking about it. Okay. So as you know, I'm in Colombia, nice place, got the office, got a phenomenal team. I got everything going, right? So, in front of you, you might say like, oh, that's absolutely phenomenal, Gedam. Like that's badass. But there's a lot of things that come into that place. So we're going to focus on the fundamentals to get you from 0 to 1,000 and exactly what you need to do right now to take action to be up and running. All right. So, man, essentially, there's a few foundational steps you have to take when you're starting a crypto payment processing business. Okay. But before I get into that, what I want to do is just explain how this works. Okay. So all you're going to do is actually think about all the businesses you've gone to. Okay. It might be the Circle K, it might be the Wawa, it might be like the liquor store, wherever you frequent, okay? So you think of that business and you ask yourself, do they accept crypto payments? That's a question for you. Do you know at least one business that does not accept crypto payments? If you do, I want you to comment business below. Comment business, because I'm seeing these comments on the IG. And again, if you guys are on Instagram, you got to send me a message also. So just give me 1 second. Let me see if I can change the screening. All right, so I think, yeah, you should see live now too. There's like a lag on IG. All right, so I want you to comment business below. So Brian, you see a bunch. Shannon, I see business. Let's get into it. Dylan, what's up, man? So essentially, the way you want to think about this is like, do you see the opportunity? Because if there's no opportunity, just don't do it. I'm just going to let you know right now. Don't waste your time. Focus on other business. That's okay. And then you can use these same fundamentals. But if you do see the opportunity, then you're like, okay, well, how do I take action? So there's a few pillars that I like to focus on, just like how, you're building a house, you're remodeling a place. You have different pillars you focus on before you do the business, right? So with this business, it's actually very simple. The first thing you're gonna do is form your actual business entity. This doesn't matter if, we have some people in Dubai, some people in Canada with corporations, but you're gonna find, it's usually called a corporation. It might have like in the US, LLC, S Corp, C Corp, maybe it's a nonprofit. It doesn't matter, but you have some type of business entity. And just real quick, the reason why you wanna do this is because protection and taxes. I'm telling you right now, from somebody that owes a lot of, somebody's salary in taxes right now, you want to form a business. I'm talking to my my accountant, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a really big bill. So essentially, in the US, you are incentivized to own a business. We are the best place to make money, not the best place to spend money, okay? So there's a lot of incentives that you can do, whether it's write-offs for your business, education, equipment, Section 179, deferring it, whatever. But essentially, you want to protect yourself and take advantage of taxes. And this isn't taking advantage of like, screwing the system. It's that, hey, we want to keep more money in our pocket because let's be realistic. If you can keep an extra dollar, you've earned an extra dollar, right? So we want to keep more money in our pocket, but we can also reinvest that into our life, into our business, into scaling, okay? So we want to form that business. And the lesson I learned with business, I'll tell you real quick. I was a police officer. I was, I was like out there going and getting it. And, one day I respond to a crash, pretty simple crash. Another police officer was going lights and sirens to like some car fire or something. They go through an intersection at like 10 miles an hour, right? They clear lane number 1, they clear lane number 2, they clear lane number 3. And then of course, lane number 4 is the one lane when someone's not stopping. So they broadside them. They smack them on the side of like the B pillar, the passenger door. So, everyone's okay. The guy's completely at fault. I talked to him, body camera recording him, video, audio. I was like, hey man, you're being recorded. What happened? He's like, dude, I heard the sirens. I saw the lights. I thought I could still beat it. And so he's obviously at fault. Okay. So what ends up happening is a little while later, I get a little notice in the mail, right? And the notice says, hey, Gedam, you are being sued. I was like, what? I'm thinking back. I was like, man, was it my ex-girlfriend? Is it this or that? No, I'm kidding, guys. So you're the subject of a lawsuit, and here's the accusation. Like, you lied on a police report. So I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, that's craziness. Like, there's no way, right? Absolutely, there's no way. So, fast forward into depositions where, they're asking you questions. Well, there was this one question that was asked beforehand, which really changed my mindset on business and just investments in general. Because back then, I had a lot of money saved up. At that point, crypto had really taken off. I had some side hustles going, so it was closer, almost hitting that million mark. And so they ask you like, hey, what assets do you have? You actually have to list your assets. And what I mean by that, I say, hey, what are you worth? Who are you? Like, what assets do you have? What's your checking account, your home, etc. And the reason why is because essentially they want to say, if we win, what are we taking from you? So that was like one of the most humbling points in my life. I thought to myself, wait a second. You're telling me I could do completely nothing wrong, but my stuff can be gone like that. And, the one thing I was talking to a lawyer, this isn't legal advice. They said, hey, man, we're not asking about necessarily the businesses. We're just personally what you own. Because if it's a separate entity, there's a different board, whatever, maybe we don't count it. Right. So it kind of hit me. I was like, okay, I start needing to protect myself. Some of you guys do trust. Some of you guys do other businesses. Maybe you have family members that own something. Or if you're like that famous soccer player, you have your mama and everything for the divorce. But essentially, that was the number one lesson I learned in business is like, hey, make sure you protect your neck. It's like Busta Rhymes says, right? So you want to form that actual business entity. Do it online. It's going to be like $30 or $100 depending on your state. It takes you like maybe 3 business days to get it. Then from there, get your federal identification number. So once you actually form that, then what ends up happening is you want to get your business bank account. Really simply put, obviously you want to separate your finances, what you're making for your business versus your personal income. Then you see the benefits later, but also you get business loans, business funding, all that good stuff in the future. Okay. So that's like the foundation. From there, what you need to do is actually partner with a crypto payment processing company, okay? So this is actually one of the simpler steps, but there are a few considerations. So the first thing you want to remember is, number one, like there's a few different companies. Some are better than others. But what you want to do is work with a company that, number one, is going to work with a lot of businesses. They make sense. They're going to be more flexible with you. They're going to have pretty good support. And then on top of that, they want to accept different cryptos. Because remember, what you're doing in this business is very simple. All you're doing is going to pillar number 3, which is the location. You're going to local businesses that you said don't accept crypto yet. And you're just having a conversation. You're saying, hey, man, why don't you accept crypto? And usually the first answer is, I didn't even know that was possible. I do credit cards, I do Apple Pay, I do this. I didn't even know I can accept crypto. So you are providing what we call value. You're providing a solution to that business owner, which is the best business to be in. It's not like predatory loans, loan sharks, and all that. You're literally going to that business owner and saying, hey, I'm going to provide value to you. I'm going to allow you to accept more payments. So the question you got to ask yourself is like, well, wait a second, like what's the best locations to actually target? And I actually have a list. I literally just posted this. I have like one of the best marketing agencies. If you guys don't know about them, send me a message, I'll send them. But they're absolutely phenomenal. And I had a brand new post. So how many guys would actually want to know like the top businesses to target for crypto payments? I want you to comment location below, comment location. I'm going to see if I can actually pull this up. All right. So they just posted this and it went like viral, uber viral, and it's on the LinkedIn. So if you guys look up my name on LinkedIn, it'll pop up. But let me do a share screen just so you guys can see this bad boy right here, right? You can take a screenshot. You can send me a message if you're on Instagram for a copy of this also. But essentially, I'm going to break down exactly what the best ones for you to check out are right here. Here we go. So you're going to partner with one of these businesses. I'm going to zoom in. So you'll see my my actual LinkedIn here too. So you'll see me posting this. So it's publicly accessible for you. But there's a few different businesses that do really well, right? And it's not ordered in priority, but these are just some ideas that you can actually start looking at, right? So you got some jewelry stores, you got some nail salons, smoke shops, sneaker boutiques, because obviously if I'm dating myself because I only wear like minimalist shoes, but like some Jordans, I don't know what you guys buy now. You guys are some hype beasts over here. Dylan, help me out, man. So luxury watch stores, cigar lounges, food trucks, like all these different businesses that you can actually target for this. Because you're probably thinking to yourself, like, wait a second, I go to a yoga studio, I go to a Pilates studio, I got this. Like, these are all different opportunities that aren't doing this yet. So what you're going to do is actually identify one of these businesses. From there, you're going to have that conversation, which is actually very simple. It's just going to be a matter of like, hey, I provide this service, X, Y, and Z, this is my background, etc. And then you sign them up. Now, is it that easy? Yes. Are there more steps involved? Absolutely. How do you know how to structure the deal? How do you know what contract to do? Like, there's all these different little minute details. And if you do need help with that, just comment startup below. Comment startup, especially for an IG, because you're not going to get a copy of this. And what I'll do is I'll personally reach out. I'll have one of my consultants send you a guide just like this. Okay. So there's all these different things that can happen when you're talking to that business owner, but that's just the gist of it, because we're just making this super simple within the next like 10 minutes, guys. Okay. So once you partner with that business, you're going to structure the deal. So you're usually going to charge the customer. A customer is going to go to the business. They're going to have a device just like this. You place it at the actual business. They say, hey, you know what? I want to pay $200 for whatever sneakers, or I'm going to pay $5,000 for these nice jeans, or whatever it is. And all they're going to do is say, okay, cool, I want to pay the crypto. From there, they're going to scan a QR code on here. They scan the QR code just like when you do Apple Pay. And when that happens, you actually profit. And here's the way how. It's very simple. In that percentage that's being charged to the customer is going to be your profit. So if it's going to be like a $5,000 transaction, which is actually pretty normal, like for a watch, this watch was like 10 or 15. But if you pay for that watch, all of a sudden I made 2% out of that. So I made like $200 to $400 off that transaction. So again, this is not going to be life-changing. Let's be realistic, guys. This isn't going to be life-changing. This isn't like the fanciest thing. But if you're able to add in an extra $200, $600, $700 a month from that business, why would you not? It's almost irresponsible. So once you partner with this business, then we have the fourth phase. This is the most fun, okay? Is actually going to be scaling. So this is like my specialty. I love this part. This is like where sometimes you struggle in business, and I did for a long time, but this is the scaling phase. And essentially what this is you're saying, remember what I said? You have the binary. Does it work? Yes or no? Awesome. Now let's do more of the same repetition, meaning I'm going to talk to more businesses. I'm going to sign up more. I'm going to work with a company to find me locations, whatever it is. But we have that aspect. Then the third part, right, which is the scaling, because you ask yourself, okay, I've signed up 10, 15, 20 of these businesses, like these smoke shops, et cetera, around my area. I'm not lazy, but I'm like, can I do something different? Something's got to give. So this is the point, which is very fun. And there's a few different ways you can do this, right? So there's going to be referrals where you can actually talk to business owners and you say, hey, do you know anybody else that would benefit from this? There is actual like marketing initiatives you can do. And this is a whole nother world. I'm telling you right now, you could post on social media. I had somebody with a big TikTok following. That's what they were doing. You can post on different social media platforms. We show that also. But essentially, usually you're going to run ads. So you're going to run an advertisement. Somebody's going to see it and I'm like, hey, do you have this business? Do you want to accept crypto payments? And that's where a lot of the magic happens. But that's just within your country. The next question you have to ask yourself is this. If you're not using a credit card, like a Visa, MasterCard, Amex, whatever, why does it have to stay in your country? So you probably ask like, hey, Gedam, what are you doing in Medellin, right? So, the food is good, right? But when it comes down to it, there's a lot of opportunities. So what we're doing is we're expanding internationally. So what's crazy is this. A lot of you guys are actually like in the US and Canada, some in Mexico too. But what you're going to find is a lot of this actually happens outside the US. So let me ask you this. If you're able to start a business, today and you get some success in the US, which is great. You feel good. You got the business cards, all that. But then you're able to expand internationally. Would that be something you're interested in? I want you to comment scale below. Comment scale. If you're like, hell yeah, I'm quitting my job tomorrow, Gedam, babe. Later, I'm out. No, I'm kidding. You're not going to do that, right? We're bringing the spouse with us. But essentially, you're saying, you know what? What I'm going to do is actually expand and actually go into another country. Because when you ask yourself, other than e-commerce, what other business opportunity do you have that can actually expand into different countries? It's very rare. And that's what made this so sexy. Because to give you a little bit of background, I've helped thousands of people start credit card processing businesses, ATM businesses, some vending machines also across the US, Canada, and Mexico. And the biggest problem, which is not really a problem, but it was just stuck to your geography. And the reason why is because when you have to move a 200-pound machine to a business, it's not like you can just ship that to Japan. It doesn't really make sense, right? So essentially you kind of get stuck. And that's why usually people try to go online. And that's the best part about this business, because as much as you're going to be scaling locally around you to, the mom and pop shop, the burger shop, whatever it is, then you have to ask yourself, where do you pay for things online? Do they ship it in from Alibaba? Do they ship it in from whatever? Well, if they're not accepting crypto payments, that's another opportunity for you. And then it's literally 3 button clicks. And from there, you're up and running. So step by step, that's all it takes for this business. Now you got to ask yourself is, well, how do I scale this the fastest? And this is going to be the step-by-step process that I would follow if I was starting this from scratch and doing it in person, right? So the first thing I would do is, you got the business formation, you got the foundations, whatever. What I would do is focus on what we call the needle moving activity. And in business, especially when you're scaling to, multiple commas in how much revenue, you start really looking at optimization. Okay. So when you're starting, don't do this, but like when you're scaling, you're saying, hey, I want to get multiple locations. This is what I do. And if you talk to a lot of these guys that have like people working for them, they'll say the same thing. I always outsource everything. Outsource as much as possible. To the point that if I showed you my fridge back there, I literally have nothing other than Starbucks coffees that are delivered to me and meal prep. And just so you guys know, if you need the best meal prep spot in Medellin, I know the plug right now. So the reason why is because you have to ask yourself, is it worth your time? Because if you're able to secure 1, 2, 3 locations within a day, right, which is totally possible, then you got to ask yourself, is it worth your time to wipe your own floor? Is it worth your time to do your laundry, et cetera? Is it worth your time to go door to door to all these businesses? So the secret to my success that really helped was outsourcing a lot of these responsibilities. So use things like call centers, because if somebody has a specialty of just calling and finding businesses for you, you tell me where to go to, and then I'll go to that business and I'll do what I do best, which is having that conversation. And then from there, obviously, you want to work with people that know how to run ads, because let's be realistic. I didn't know anything about marketing years ago. I was a police officer. All I knew was how to dry fire, get my pistol out very quickly, handle situations, and that's it. And I went home for the night. So now you start talking about, you got to make a picture, you got to do this. I was like, well, this is rocket science, man. Call Elon. This ain't for me, right? So what you want to do is actually outsource a lot of the activities that take those repetitions, and you just focus on steering the ship. That's it. You just focus on steering the ship of your business, because this is, remember what I said, the optimization phase, which is the best part about your business. Essentially, you get to the point where you're like, oh, I'm not actually doing that thing. I'm not mopping the floor anymore. I actually hire somebody and I'm giving them an opportunity. I'm able to empower my family, my cousins, my friends to work with me, because while they don't have the special skill yet, they're learning a skill by being a part of your organization. Now, if this sounds like something that you're like, hell yeah, or maybe you're on the fence, I want you to comment info below. If you're on Instagram, so I can send you the replay of this training. If you're on this actual webinar, what we'll do is I'll probably have somebody send you a message to break down some info. But essentially, the reason I'm bringing this up is because what you want to do in all of these businesses that I mentioned is scale. That's the name of the game. No one in here is in the position to say, oh, you know what? I just want to do one location, or I want to make one sell online, and that's it. Let's be realistic. A lot of it comes down to, we've been trained to think that we should work a 9-to-5, we should retire, we should be happy with what we got, like the quote unquote, be humble. Get the hell out of here. They used to tell me that all the time. Like, Gedam, you got to be humble. You got this ego. I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. I'll see you in the rearview mirror. So when it comes down to it, what I would recommend typically, and we offer this too, we help you out if you want to scale this business, is you focus on the fundamentals, get your business up and running, and you have a growth partner. Meaning that you have a team with you, whether it's internal or external, and they say, hey, you know what? Alona, Michael, Dylan, Tyson, what we're going to do is do X, Y, and Z to make sure you hit the goal. And the reason why is because if you're not a specialist in something, this is what I learned the hard way with all those businesses I failed on. If you're not a specialist, there's no point of reinventing the wheel. Because when you do, you're just going to spend twice as much work doing the same thing that you could have saved time with. And there's 2 ways you pay. Either you pay with money or you pay with time. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't got that much time left. I'm seeing the gray hairs come in, and I'm just trying to have a good life, not a long life, right? So if you do need help with any of these steps, you're saying, hey, Gedam, you know what? Can you send me the guide, or can you send me a step-by-step like what you would do? What I want you to do is comment 2025 below. comment 2025, and one of my team members will either send you a message. I have my assistant on the Instagram. The Facebook group also is being monitored too, the YouTube channel. And what we'll do is either send you an email, send you an Instagram message, or send you a text message, just like I did earlier. They'll break down the step-by-step. And what I want you to do is be the next person smiling, saying, hey, I got this business up and running. All right. So that's going to be it for today's live training. If you do need help, let me know. Send me an email, send me an Instagram message, send me a pigeon. It doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. But my name is Gedam Tekle, founder of Digital Residuals, and I'll catch you guys on the next training. Peace.